The adventures of the new version of Batman continued this week in Absolute Batman 12. If you haven't been keeping up with this radical reinvention of the Caped Crusader, then give me a minute and I'll bring you up to speed. In the Absolute universe, Batman isn't a billionaire socialite, he's a working-class civil engineer. His father was gunned down during a mass shooting event at a zoo, which deeply traumatized him. His mother is still alive though, and he has a support network of childhood friends, but that hasn't satiated his thirst for justice. In his first storyline, he fought against the wealthy elites who were paying everyday citizens to riot and cause trouble in order to bring about martial law. When he exposed their scheme, however, the world just kinda shrugged and moved on, and the elites still got their way. The authorities have initiated a curfew for all citizens, and a mysterious new prison, named Ark M, is being built off the coast. When his friend Waylon Jones was kidnapped by the authorities, allegedly for breaking the curfew, Batman put all of his energy into rescuing him. While investigating the prison, Batman was set upon by Bane, the Ark facility's enforcer, and captured. The doctors in Ark M held Batman for 3 months, physically and psychologically torturing him. He had attempted to escape multiple times, each time getting slightly further and uncovering more hideous monstrosities in the facility. He was only able to escape after Waylon, now transformed into a huge crocodile-like beast, helped him. The last issue told the origin story of Absolute Bane, a man who serves the global elites to ensure the safety of his island home. But it had an important story beat on the final page. Bane had tracked down Batman's other friends, Edward Nygma, Oswald Cobblepot, and Harvey Dent. I had assumed that he was going to hold them hostage in order to persuade Batman to return to Ark M, but oh boy was I mistaken. So that brings us up to this issue, and I have to say that this Abomination storyline just gets more and more grotesque with each issue. This issue opens with Batman and Waylon in the sewers. Waylon is desperate for his suffering to end. He feels a constant hunger and wants Batman to put him out of his misery. For as violent as the Batman who lifts is, he can't bring himself to harm his friends. And so, Waylon leaves. Batman meanwhile stumbles back to his hideout and spends the next 20 days unconscious, recovering from his ordeal at Ark M. Alfred discovered him passed out on the floor and got him into bed. He notes that the doctors had grafted a venom delivery system to his spine, and throughout the issue we see hints of its effect, suggesting that the venom may be slowly seeping into his system. Given that he has been away and unconscious for quite some time, he is completely out of the loop, and it's his mother who tells him what has happened to his friends. So no, Bane did not use Batman's friends for leverage. It's very clear that this Bane does not make deals. He breaks people. Case in point, he punished Batman for escaping by harming his friends, both physically and mentally. He takes one look at Oswald and observes that he very clearly wishes to be a big man. He wears lifts to seem taller and has visibly just come from the gym. So Bane pulverizes almost every bone in his body, taking care not to damage any vital organs, and left him with a shriveled, deformed body, damning him to a life of agony. He's now 2 feet shorter than he was before, with twisted, broken limbs. He's practically comatose and will never be the same again. Similarly, he took Harvey Dent, noting how he dipped his toes in 2 worlds, one as an assistant district attorney and the other criminal world of his childhood, and crushed his skull, splitting it in 2 before setting him on fire. The imagery evokes Harvey Dent's origins in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight movie, with Dent laying on his side in a pool of flammable liquid. But here it's booze, and Bane has his foot on his head, making sure he can't escape. There's some nice symbolism here, with Bane using a plastic poker chip to start the fire that burns Harvey. The poker game was the only time that he was able to hang out with his miscreant childhood friends, and it's his connection to those people that has ultimately damned him. He took a slightly different approach with Eddie Nygma though. Rather than attacking him outright, Bane offered him a chance to save himself. All he had to do was win a little game. Of course, Bane's mind has been so expanded by the venom that Eddie stood no chance and lost within a minute. Consequently, Bane shook Eddie by the head, causing his brain to rattle around inside of his skull, and gouged his eyes out as a penalty for losing. Unlike the others, Eddie isn't too upset about it though. He took the head of his Riddler robot from a couple of issues ago and grafted it to his skull, creating new eyes for himself. While Dent is at least half resentful towards Batman, and Oswald was practically comatose, Eddie is pretty happy. He believes that Bane saw them for who they truly were and helped them become who they were meant to be. Edward is very clearly brain damaged and notes how what he had previously known to be facts were now questions in his mind. Constant questions. So, all in all, it really was abominable. Hence the title of the story. Now I know there will be people hearing about this, groaning about how over the top and edgy it is, but I think that there's an important distinction to make between this and, say, Scott Snyder's earlier New 52 era Batman comics. When the New 52 reimagined some classic Batman characters in grittier ways, see Dr. Death and his out-of-control bone growth or the weird stalker Mr. Freeze, it replaced everything that had come before. It was the new main continuity. But at the same time, because it was the mainline universe, I got the sense that DC were cautious about going too far. One of the things that I didn't enjoy about Scott Snyder's ideas from the New 52, like the Court of Owls potentially having the Waynes killed, Talon being Bruce Wayne's insane brother, or the Joker being an ancient elemental being of chaos, was that DC rolled it back almost immediately. It all felt pretty hollow, like the editors wouldn't fully commit to the ideas, and if they wouldn't, why should I? The Absolute line, however, is entirely different, and as such, they can be more extreme and experimental. It's another flavour, rather than the only flavour, and I actually really enjoy how unflinchingly grotesque this book is. While we haven't seen that much of Absolute Bane, he is my favourite version of the character by far, and it wouldn't surprise me if I came to feel similarly about other Absolute characters as these series progress. If this was the only form of Batman, then yes, I could understand people being upset, but it isn't, so you shouldn't be. As for the rest of the book, Batman genuinely seems conflicted. He knows that he has to do something about Bane, but he genuinely feels that he can't. We're shown that at some point he had been in contact with the Red Hood gang. What are the chances that their leader seen on the call with Batman is Jason Todd? To arrange something, but he tells them that the deal's off. Whatever it was, they're not very happy to receive that news, saying that Batman doesn't get to tell them what to do, which is intriguing. Alfred, meanwhile, encourages him, saying that he can't give up. There's no going back. You can only go through. Always advance forward, bringing back the idea of Batman AF. The issue ends with a mysterious figure breaching their base. They both assume that it's Bane, so Alfred arms up with a colossal Terminator 2 style minigun. But it isn't Bane, it's Selina Kyle, Catwoman. In an earlier flashback, we had seen that Selina and Bruce had been in a steady relationship. They even got an apartment together. She was still a cat burglar, they had stolen some gold from Carmine Falcone, but for whatever reason it just didn't work out between them. Perhaps we'll find out more about their dysfunctional relationship in the next issue. Absolute Batman number 12 is available now from all good comic shops. If you are based in the UK and don't have a comic shop near you, then you might want to use my affiliate link with the UK's biggest comic retailer, Forbidden Planet. I have included a link in this video's description. Alternatively, if the idea of hoarding a collection of comic books fills you with dread, Mile High Comics had a 70% off sale and I couldn't resist buying some Jack Kirby Jimmy Olsen comics. You may want to try getting a digital copy of the issue from Amazon. I also have an affiliate link with them, which you could use to help my channel out. This is included in the video's description. To those that have read the issue, what did you think? I don't talk about this much, but the story has regular flashbacks to Waylon Jones' boxing match with Bibbo Babowski and all the prep that went into it. It is framed as an impossible battle that he couldn't possibly win, much like Batman's conflict with Bane. What are the chances that the flashback will show the secret to defeating the Santa Priscan Mountain of Muscle? We also got to see Dr. Leslie Tompkins for the first time in a while. She had briefly appeared in an earlier flashback treating young Bruce Wayne after his ordeal in the Bat enclosure. Here, she cares for Harvey Dent and Oswald Cobblepot in the hospital, which was nice to see. And finally, speaking of the hospital scene, Harvey Dent's story about how a truant officer, Flass, saw straight through him made me chuckle a little bit. In the mainline universe, Detective Arnold Flass was Jim Gordon's first partner, a thoroughly corrupt cop who was involved in drugs, gangs, and pretty much any other criminal act. To hear that in this universe he's responsible for making sure that kids stay in school is kind of funny. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Next time. I'll be back next week to talk about Absolute Flash number 7, where a hungry Wally West lands himself in hot water as the rogues close in. And given that the cover features several tornadoes, is it time to meet the Absolute Weather Wizard? Maybe we'll find out. Hope to see you then.